Hi, this video is going to deal with the summary of various transformations of graphs. The assumption here is going to be that you are familiar with each type of transformation individually. This page offers you the overview of all the different transformations. I'm not going to spend time going over that. You can pause if you want and copy them or review them. We're just going to go ahead and move on and start working with the transformations of graphs. The first thing that we need to know is how, when you deal with multiple operations, what the order is going to be. And this is very important because while in some cases the order of two transformations is not going to make a difference, for example, if you have a horizontal and vertical transformation involved in the same problem, but in some cases it will. So let's discuss first what order transformation is going to be in. So in examples 1 through 3, we are not going to do the transformations. We're just going to discuss in what, well, we want to recognize what they are, and then we're going to talk about in what order they're going to be performed. So this first problem has two things. The -3 is going to be responsible for a horizontal shift down 3 units. This is going to be responsible for reflecting the graph about the the x-axis. But the way you're going to do it always is you're going to start from x and think about if you had a specific function and you had a specific value of x, in what order would you perform each individual operation. So if I have an x, the first thing I do is I plug it into the function. The next thing I'm going to do is negate that. So my first step is going to be reflect over the x-axis, and my second step is going to be shift down 3 units. This is basically what we'll be talking about. You need to be careful here because yes, there is a negative here, but what we want to rewrite it as is we want to factor this negative out, and then we're going to have x minus 2 if you want to handle this correctly. There are 3 things here. A horizontal shift 2 units to the right, a reflection over the y-axis, and then a vertical shift down 1 unit. This is actually in the order in which it's going to be. Think about it. If you had the value of x, the first thing you're going to do is do x minus 2, then you're going to negate that, then you're going to do the function, and then you're going to do minus 1. So the first step is shift 2 units to the left, to the right. 2 is reflect about the y-axis, and 3 shift 1 unit down. Alright, our last example of that sort, and then we're going to take a look at problems. For example 3, what do we have here? This here is going to be responsible for a horizontal stretch or shrink. Again, the order. First we do 2x, then we do the function, then we multiply by 1/3, then we do plus 4. So this here is going to be, because it's 2x, it's going to be a horizontal shrink factor of 2. The second step is going to be vertical shrink factor 3. Because it's the reciprocal of 1/3. And the last step is going to be vertical shift up. So shift 4 units up. And that's the idea behind this, and when we're going to do problems that are going to follow, we are going to keep that in mind. Alright, so there's some arbitrary function f of x. You're going to have the same graph for all the examples here, and all we need to do is apply these transformations to each graph, and then we're going to go from, then we should be able to, get the graph that we're looking for. Okay, so this graph is going to be f of x plus 3, that means we're going to shift there's only one transformation. It's going to be 3 units up. All we need to do is take points that we can figure out easily and shift them 3 units up. And then we are going to connect them in exactly the same manner. So the graph that I'm going to have in blue is going to be our transformed graph. So there you go. That's one of the easiest ones to do. F of x minus 3 minus 2. In this case we're going to have two transformations. The closest to x is minus 3. This is going to be 3 units to the right. That's going to be our first step. Second step is going to be 2 units down. In this case the two transformations will not really impact each other. You can do them in the opposite order, but since we discussed the order of transformations, we want to make sure that we use it in the right order. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to shift each point 3 units to the right first, and then 2 units down. So 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2. Connect them. Remember to use a ruler when you graph lines, because this way they are going to be straight. I always tell my students that they have to use a ruler when they graph lines, because otherwise they look not very pretty. Alright, so there you go. That's this graph. Negative 3/2 times f of x. So the number is in front of f of x, but there is actually another transformation here. So we have two things. We multiply this by 3/2. So that would be a number greater than 1 outside of the function. That's going to be vertical stretch by 3/2. By 3/2, basically we're going to multiply by 3 over 2, which is 1.5. And the second thing that we're going to do is going to be reflect about the x-axis. Right? So we're going to do it actually at the same time. Well, we're going to do it in 2 steps, but I'm going to perform both steps to each point that we're going to work with, and then we're going to apply that. So remember, this here, the second this step is going to apply to the y-coordinate. So is this. So the y-coordinate here is 0. You multiply 0 by negative 3/2, it's still 0. So this point stays. This is 3. You multiply that by 3/2, you get 9/2. And you negate that, you're going to get negative 9/2, which is negative 4.5. Negative 3. You multiply that by 3/2, you get 9/2 times negative, you get positive 9/2, which is 4.5. This point here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, negative 6. You multiply negative 6 by 3/2, you are going to get 9. And well, negative 9, and then you multiply by negative 1, you're going to get positive 9, which is right there slightly off my grid. And then this point here is 3 multiplied by 3/2, you get 9/2 times negative, you get negative 9/2. Okay, and what we're going to do is connect that. So this graph obviously is going to be more stretched. Hold on, am I missing a point here? No? Very good. So that's this part. I think yeah, oh, this point here. I forgot about this point. Okay, so we'll connect that. And we connect this. And then we connect, nope. My apologies. I did it wrong. Connected the wrong points. Now everything else is good, we just connected the wrong points. This, and then lastly we are going to connect these points. So this graph is our new graph. You can see it looks a little different now. F of negative x plus 1. There are two transformations here. This negative x is responsible for reflection about the y-axis. And the second thing is going to be a vertical shift up 1 unit. So reflecting about the y-axis is going to be making a reflection over that vertical line, and then we're going to shift the units up. So we have this point that's at -6. We're going to reflect that, it's going to become +6, and we're going to shift it 1 unit up. This point is -4, the y-coordinate, it's going to be +4, and we're going to shift it 1 unit up. This is -2, it's going to be +2, 1 unit up. +4, it's going to become -4, 1 unit up. This one's at 10, so it's going to be -10 and 1 unit up. Okay, so we connect that, all that. Let's make sure we didn't make any mistake. Let's make sure everything's good. I think I got this point wrong. It's, let me see. So this point is here. Let's double check everything. This point is here. This point is here, 2, 3, and then 4, and then 5. Something is, there's everything okay. Just bear with me a second. You always want to double check your work to make sure things look the way they should look. This is going to be, okay, these points are here. This point is here. This is, I think this point is wrong. This is -2. It's going to be +2 here. Yeah, now we should be good. So this point is that one. For this point, reflect, go up. For this point, reflect, go up. For this point, reflect, go up. And for this point, reflect and go up. Okay. Please double check everything, because remember, the overall shape must remain more or less the same. You do have some, you have stretches and shrinks. It will impact the size of the grid, but the shape, the overall appearance should not change. So this is our graph of this function. Okay. This graph, so we have 2x over here. That means that because this number is greater than 1, that's going to be a horizontal shrink with a factor of 2. And the second thing is going to be, we're going to move it up, shift 1 unit, I'm sorry, 4 units up. As before, we're going to do each one at the same. So when you shrink it by a factor of 2, you take your y-coordinates and make them half of what they were, because that's what happens when you divide by 2. So the y-coordinate here is -6. Half of that is going to be -3, and you're going to 4 units up. 1, 2, 3, 4. The y-coordinate here is -4. Half of that is -2. And then you're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4. This point here is -2. Half of that is -1. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 units up. This point is 4. Half of 4 is 2. And you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 units up. Scratch that point. This coordinate here is 10. Half of that is 5. And then you're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 units up. So the graph's going to go like that. As you can see, this graph shrank horizontally, but still its overall behavior didn't really change. It's still going up where the other one went up, kind of, sort of. Well, that's not exactly what I mean. What I mean is it starts by going up, then go down, then go down a little more, and then go up again. This graph. Right, this is where you need to be careful, because you cannot actually handle it like that. What we need to do is rewrite it by factoring that 2 out, which gives us this. And now we can identify the transformations in the correct order. This transformation here is going to be the first one. So it's going to be 3 units, shift 3 units to the left. The second transformation is going to be a horizontal shrink with a factor of 2. Okay, and then finally it's going to be down 1 unit. So we have to do that in that order specifically. Let's begin. So we take this point, which is at -6. It's going to become -9. We're shrinking it by a factor of 2. That's 4 halves. Which is, I'm sorry, 9, that's 9 halves, -9 halves, which is 4.5, and you're gonna go 1 unit down. That's this point. This point here is -4. Shifted 3 units to the left is gonna give us -7. Half of -7 is 3.5, and you're gonna go 1 unit down. This point, -2. Plus shifted 3 units to the left is -5. -5, half of that is -2.5, and we're going to go 1 unit down. This one is 4. Yeah, the y coordinate is well, it's actually the x. The x is 4 plus 3 is 7. I'm sorry, we're going this way, we're shifting to the left. 1, half of 1 is half, so we're going to this point. Shifting this way, half of 1 is half, then we're going to go here and we're going to shift it 1 unit down. And at this point here, it's going to go from 10, 3 units to the left is 7. Half of 7 is 3.5 and 1 unit down. So you can see what happened with this graph. This graph looks quite different, but still maintains overall the same type of behavior. This graph, so this is a reflection about the, I hope you understand by now the order. The first thing that's going to happen is you reflect it about the the x-axis. And the second thing is going to be shift 5 units down. Okay, so reflect this way, and then we're going to shift it down 5 units. This point, when you reflect, it stays there. You're just going to go 5 units down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This point, you reflect about the y-axis. From +3 it becomes -3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This point reflect about the y-axis is going to become +3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is -6. It's going to become +6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This point is 3. It's going to become -3. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Again, the key here is to go slowly and not make careless mistakes. that sometimes people do, and just very carefully analyze the order, because like for example in this case with the vertical reflection and the vertical shift, the order will make a difference. Alright, we got this example. So here we need to do a few things. First of all, we're going to rewrite it. Negative f of, we're going to factor out the negative sign here, that's going to give us x minus 4, and then plus 1. This is a horizontal shift of 4 units to the right. This here is going to be a reflection about the y-axis. Then we're going to have a reflection about the x-axis. And finally shift 1 unit up. Okay? So we're going to try to do all that at once. So 4 units to the right. Let's see, one, it's going to start with this point. 1, 2, 3, 4. Reflect about the y-axis is going to go here, right? Negative 2 becomes positive 2. Reflect about the x-axis does not change, and then we move 1 unit up. This point, 4 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. Reflect about the y-axis is going to stay there because it's on the y-axis. Reflect about the x-axis is going to send it down to negative 3, and 1 unit up is going to be here. So that was the, okay, this point now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Reflect about the y-axis, sends it back here. Reflect about the x-axis is going to go from there to there, and then we're going to go 1 unit up. This point, 4 units to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4. That's at 8. Reflect about the y-axis is going to put it at negative 8. Reflect about the x-axis is going to go from negative 6 to positive 6, which is right here, and then 1 unit up is going to be there. And then lastly this point, go 4 units to the right, that's going to place it at 14. Reflect about the y-axis is going to place it at negative 14. Reflect about the x-axis is going to move it down to negative 3, and 1 unit up is going to be right there. So let's see, did we get them all? So it's supposed to connect like this, like this, like that, and like that. And gonna have to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points. I think we're good. Two, 3, 4, 5. All right. This point here, and then this here, and then this here. All right, our last example. We're almost done. This one, so there are 3 things here. There is a horizontal shrink of 2 units. The factor of 2. Then it's going to reflect about the y-axis. And finally we're going to shift 3 units down. Now we're going to try to do all this again at the same time. What might be helpful, by the way, with these problems is if you're confused with doing multiple transformations at once, you can sketch them one at a time with a pencil and then erase them as you move along. So horizontal shrink of 2. This negative 6 here becomes negative 3. Reflect about the y-axis becomes positive 3. And shift 3 units down is going to be 1, 2, 3, this point. This point here, horizontal shrink of 2 will make it from negative 4 to negative 2. Reflect about the y-axis is going to put it at 2. 3 units down, 1, 2, 3. This point here, I'm going to actually start connecting them. This point, horizontal shrink of 2 will make it -1. Reflected about the y-axis is 1. Shift 3 units down, 1, 2, 3. Okay, that was this 1, 2, 3, this point. Horizontal shrink of 2, that's 4, that is going to become 2. Reflect about the y-axis puts it at -2. 3 units down, 1, 2, 3. So this connects like that. And then this here, horizontal shrink of 2 from 10 becomes 5. Reflect about the y-axis puts it at -5, which is right there. 5. And 3 units down, 1, 2, 3. Now finally, we're going to connect this. I'm sorry I didn't do so pretty with the other ones, but there is that graph. Okay, so I hope this overview was helpful.